Yes. All right, do not get up. Do not get up. Everybody sit still. And we'll let the fire truck go first. Welcome, everybody. We are going to do things a little bit differently today. Not that we haven't been all year long doing things a little bit differently. But we're going to start off with our guest speaker today. But before we start that, I just want to let you know that Sunta Eng has provided everybody on the table with some lovely candy, chocolates. And if you read the little sign in front of you, you can see that the larger chocolates on the table are due for those people who were born on the year of the snake. Now that's what's coming up, is the year of the snake, and the dates of the year of the snake are on the card on your table. And so those that were born in one of those years get the big candy. The rest of you just get the little ones. So Gong Hei Fa Choi, Happy New Year from Sunta Eng. And given that, I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about our speaker today. Our speaker is Kirk Schulz, who is the 11th president of Washington State University. He's a tenured professor in the School of Chemical Engineering and was appointed in 2016. And this year, he's going to retire from the position of president of WSU. Before joining WSU, President Schulz served as the 13th president of Kansas State University. He's a member of several professional societies, including the American Institute for Chemical Engineering and the American Society for Engineering Education. I hope we're not on fire here. The president is active in the Boy Scouts of America, and in 2013 he was recognized with the Distinguished Eagle Scout Award from the National Eagle Scout Association. He earned his undergraduate and doctoral degrees in chemical engineering at Virginia Tech, where he met his wife, who is a professor in the College of Engineering and Architecture. He has 2 sons, and without further ado, Professor Schulz. Come on up.
All right, my slides are up, so it's a good, successful start. So first, thank you all for inviting me to come back, and I also appreciate the movement of the program a little bit. It turns out we had some scheduling issues, and I've got a 1 o'clock meeting that's starting that we just rearranged a little bit of that agenda to make sure that I could come in a little bit late, and I, once again, appreciate the opportunity to be here. This is my 9th year serving at Washington State University as president, and I came to the state in 2016, and if you want to pick a 9-year span of time to serve as a public university president, I certainly picked one of the more dynamic times. So it's been an amazing ride. I've really enjoyed my opportunity to be here in the state. The question I get most often is, what are you going to do next? You know, are you moving somewhere else? And it turns out my wife is a faculty member at WSU, and so last year we initiated in our Tri-Cities campus in the Richland area something called the Institute for Northwest Energy Futures, and it's a bipartisan group that will provide technical advice and things around energy policy for the state of Washington and the Pacific Northwest. And so she was asked to lead that particular effort. So while I will be tasked with making sure she has a nice dinner when she gets home from work in the future, but she's going to be doing that in Richland, and we built a retirement home in Spokane. So Washington is now our home, and after I'm done serving as president, certainly be involved with boards and other types of things in the state. So looking forward to the next chapter in our life. So yeah, anyway, thank you. Well, with the applause, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today. So let me just go through a couple slides, and I want to also do some Q&A. So one of the things is we have our Board of Regents is meeting. That's the board of largely folks from the state of Washington appointed by the governor. Their job is to look over the university, hire, fire the president, and really work on fiscal issues and things like that. So the board meets every other month, and we just added 2 new members. As a matter of fact, we are meeting starting this evening, going through Friday, and that's Sam Hunt, who is an alum. Sam served in the legislature for many, many years and was just appointed by Governor Inslee on his way out before our current governor started. And then Howard Wright, who's also an alum and been very active in the Seattle community. Many of you may know both these individuals, or certainly Howard, and we really are pleased to have these 2 new individuals joining the WSU Board of Regents. They come at an interesting time. Interviews for my successor occurred last week. And so they'll be involved in helping choose the next president of Washington State University. Folks mentioned during my introduction that I'm the 11th president. We are 137 years old, WSU is, and have had 11 presidents. That is an extraordinary number. In the first 3 or 4 years of WSU, I think they went through 2 or 3. So interestingly, after a 9-year tenure, I'm still one of the shorter tenures. We've got a couple people who served 25 or 30 years as president of WSU. Anamari Kause is the 33rd president of the University of Washington, so I'll just leave that for your consideration. One of the other things that we want to make sure that we always do is are we bringing in new leaders and people that are making a big difference in our public entities, whether that's Washington State University, UW, or anybody else. And so what's shown here are just some of the individuals that have stepped into senior leadership roles at WSU over the last little bit. And sometimes it's interesting, and you all know this as we do leadership searches, sometimes you find the best leaders are right there in your organization. They've been waiting for that great opportunity to take the next step in that career. Sometimes you need to go outside the organization to bring in somebody with some new ideas. What's shown here are some of our either newly appointed leaders. The first is Dave Soleil. He is the chancellor of our Pullman campus. So about 5 years ago, we have campuses all over the state of Washington, as you all may know. Pullman is our historic campus and our center, but we also have a health sciences campus in Spokane with a medical school, nursing, and pharmacy. We have our newest campus is in Everett, Washington, that is done in collaboration with Everett Community College. We have a campus, the Tri-Cities campus, that's in the Richland area, adjacent to Pacific Northwest National Lab, if you're familiar with that particular area. And then we have a campus in Vancouver, Washington. And then our 6th campus is what we call our global campus. That's our online campus that has over 4,000 Cougs studying online from around the world. And you can get numerous bachelor's degrees, master's, and doctoral degrees all online. And what we find is sometimes people in the military who've moved around will start at WSU, want to continue, and that global campus means we're meeting our students where they are, not necessarily saying you have to come to a physical location to be there. So one of the things that we needed to do is about 5 years ago, the board asked me to have a little larger presence in terms of fundraising in Olympia, in the Seattle area, some of those types of things. And so we appointed a Pullman chancellor who kind of does the day-to-day operational things with our students in Pullman. That includes the Greek system. That includes the types of things that you would associate with a traditional residential campus environment. Dave raised his children in Pullman, has been on the faculty for 30 years. He knows that community through and through, and he just accepted that opportunity this summer to step into that position. Sandra Haynes accepted a 5-year contract extension to continue leading our Tri-Cities campus. So sometimes you get great leaders coming in. You want to make sure you keep them there. Deb Campano is our new dean of the Carson College of Business, and she has been on the faculty for a number of years, served in the interim role for a year and a half, and then we promoted her recently. And at the end, we have our first ever woman leader for our research enterprise. That's Kim Christian. She is our brand new vice president for research at WSU. WSU does about $400 million a year in externally sponsored research. So that's our faculty going out and hustling research grants, doing really creative, innovative things. Kim has been on the faculty in a program called Digital Technology and Cultures out of our English department. Then she served as Associate VP and was recently named Vice President. The key thing here is not that you remember these names or I go through all of them, is that the state of Washington continues to be an attractive destination. We just hired our provost for Washington State University. That's sort of our chief academic officer. Came to us from the University of Missouri in Columbia. And you know, you come for an interview, you hear from faculty and staff about all the problems, right, during an interview. And he was blown away by the buildings, the infrastructure, the fact that we had a legislature in the state of Washington that supports public higher education. We're used to that, but you go in some of these other states where all you're doing is ever fighting about why you're spending money on any kind of education. And he said, this is an awesome place to be, and I can't imagine anywhere else that I want to have and spend this part of my career. And it's just a nice reminder sometimes, because as a leader, we can get all attuned to what are our problems and our issues. Sometimes we've got to look outside, and you got some people coming in saying, man, this is an awesome place to work. I can't wait to be here. One of the things that happened at Washington State University, and we've found this now nationally, it's easy to go back and lead during COVID 4 years later. You know, you can say, well, we should have done this differently, should have done this. You know, one of the things that really hurt us on our Pullman campus is most of our recruitment, and those of you who've been there or you have, you know, friends that went there or you have children that go there, it's a place you got to kind of visit, and you got to go and you go and you tour around campus, meet faculty, and you go, man, this is really cool. This is somewhere I'd like to go. When you can't do that, and during COVID, when we shut all that stuff down, we really saw our enrollment crater. You know, people weren't able to visit campus. We were closed for 3 consecutive semesters. I mean, we had online classes, but it wasn't the same. And it's taken us several years to come out of that enrollment trough. What we do in enrollment now is more creative. We do the same things we did 5 years ago, but we do a lot more. So for example, now at college fairs, given a certain set of high school credentials, we'll admit you on the spot. It's not submit an application, we'll be back to you in a month or 2 months, we'll just admit you right there. We used our extension centers that in all these different communities to make sure that in those communities, you could also show up, get on-the-spot admissions. We shifted to a national admissions clearinghouse, if you will. We'd used a home-built system that we were very proud of for years. And so this last year, right now, we have more applications this year at WSU than we've ever had in our history. So last year, the national trends at most public institutions around the country were down about 5%. Our entering class last year was up 2.5%. So we're starting to really see that we've turned the corner and we're kind of building that enrollment back up. Interesting question about that is, how big should we be? And you say, well, you should be whatever you were the largest. Isn't growth what you want? At the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, how many students do we want to have on our Pullman campus, on our Vancouver campus? What's the faculty and staff needed to make sure that those students have a great educational experience, come out work ready, and are ready to move and do that next step in their careers? So if you get smaller, before just getting bigger again because you can, we want to be going through that dialogue and things like that, and also figuring out, do you selectively grow certain areas of campus and certain fields more, and maybe some of the others shrink a little bit. it's a great opportunity for the next president as they come in at WSU to engage with senior leadership and the board and our business community across the state and make sure that we're continuing to produce graduates ready to go, whether it's Seattle or whether it's small communities across the state of Washington. One of the other things that when I got here, and Paul is in the audience, we talked a lot about WSU telling its story. And before COVID, if I go back to the Great Recession, which I hate that term, I lived through it like many of you did, there was nothing great about it, but the Great Recession, WSU decided at that point, one of the cuts that was made was we essentially eliminated our marketing for the institution. Not our marketing department, but marketing for the institution. We basically just cut that budget all the way down to a couple $100,000. That's all we were spending on marketing. And we got lucky. You know, word of mouth seemed to work, our enrollment was growing, you know, all that kind of thing was working. And as you all know from operating whatever you do, you know, sometimes you're walking on ice and you don't realize it. And so what happened is when COVID hit and the ice we fell through, all of a sudden we weren't marketing WSU well enough. We weren't telling our story. And so rather than just throwing money at it, our VP from Marcom, we said, we're going to invest $1 million, $1.5 million, go out and hire a national firm that works in this space. Let's not just do it locally. And by locally, I don't mean the state of Washington, but let's not just go find somebody that says they know what they're doing. Let's go get one of the better firms that we can get, come in and do the work to put together what a marketing effort for WSU needs to look like. So there's a short video here, and those of you who may have flown through SeaTac on Concourse C may have seen this, but here's a short video. So, a cougar head at sea. That's a great video. You probably don't want to see it again. A cougar head at SeaTac is not a marketing program, but the Go Cougs theme, and any of you who've been around WSU folks know that that's part of what we do. That was what the whole marketing effort was built around. And so if you've been up and down on I-5, headed down to Olympia, some of the digital bulletin boards we've had content and material on. So we're also doing stuff with other institutions. We're focused in the Pacific Northwest where we get the majority of our students. And we've invested about $2 million this year, and that we will continue to grow that marketing budget. And we think that's also some of the reasons we're starting to see some rebound in enrollment and things like that. But we want to get out of the days of WSU doing great stuff and everybody goes, well, I don't really know, or I know an alum and they told me something. We need to be proud of what all of our campuses are doing and the impact they're making across the state. So I hope when you all go to the grocery store or whatever and you buy apples, there's the Cosmic Crisp apple that many people are familiar with. My in-laws live in Richmond, Virginia, and they get them at Safeway in Richmond. And my mother-in-law has turned into this, you know, apple connoisseur, and she takes the other 85-year-olds where she lives and browbeats them into buying Cosmic Crisp apples. That Cosmic Crisp apple, though, took like 12 years of development. It's not people go out and plant something, oh, this is really great. So as Cosmic Crisp matures in the market, we've got our next apple coming out. It's called the Sunflare apple. The very democratic process and how this was named. We got 10,000 entries into a poll on what we should name it, and this was what was chosen by a marketing group. But it'll be a couple years before you'll see this in the marketplace, but this is a reminder that Washington State University is a land-grant institution, which is an important part of it, but agriculture is a piece of what land-grant universities do. And it's not just, you know, ag itself, it's are we working with industries in the region and state to make sure that they're competitive in a global environment. And that's what we do, for example, as one example with the apple industry, is we're helping to ensure that Washington apple growers have better apples new and improved varieties, and that supports economically what the state of Washington is doing. So I look forward to having some of this. A lot of times as the president, they kind of sneak you one so you can try it out. But I think this is going to be really fantastic. Finally, navigating transitions. It's interesting. I've been a president at WSU through Obama administration, the first Trump time, Biden, Trump version 2. There's a lot of dynamics going on right now with the political environment. I've worked with one governor in the state of Washington over 8.5 years. Now we have Governor Bob Ferguson. And this is not a value judgment on anybody. It's just there's a dynamic of a lot of change going on. The University of Washington, Gonzaga, and WSU all are going to welcome new presidents this summer. So you've got tremendous turnover in some of your leadership and education in the state. To me, it's an opportunity, but it also means that it can feel a little bit like, all this churn is going on out there. What we're trying to do is just tell our folks, our faculty, staff, and students, alumni, and others, there's a lot of change going on, but let's keep our core principles there in front of us. Let's remind ourselves what it is that we're here to do, which is to give an opportunity for Washington students to be able to take that next career step, to come and get a great education, have a great experience, but be ready to found that next company, to be a communications professional, to go work at Boeing, to do all those different kind of things. And as long as we keep our eye on those core kind of things, we're going to be okay as the winds kind of blow us to the left and right. It's easy for me to say that, but as a reminder, a lot of this, the attitude and style starts at the top. And if you can do that organizationally, and sometimes my job is to calm people down a little bit as opposed to get them riled up, then you take a deep breath and say, let's look ahead, let's make sure we're doing what's right for all of us. That's a really key factor, and just encourage everybody. I look at the newspaper every morning about what stuff's coming out of DC. Sometimes I just got to take a deep breath and say, we're going to work together to make sure that we're continuing to do the things we need to. So with that, I appreciate the time to be here today, and I look forward to answering questions or concerns or anything that any of you might have. So, yes.
I apologize, I'm a Husky.
That's all right.
I just think some of your programs that you did, either the one that your medical school, that you went ahead, I know the UW kind of discouraged that idea. I'm very glad you did. And the veterinary school and the World Health program that you have is outstanding.
Well, thank you. For those of you who may not been aware, but we started a medical school about a decade ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. We are going to, this May, in 3 months, we'll graduate our 4th class of 80 medical doctors that are coming out. And really interesting, my sister had some medical issues recently. She lives in Spokane. We went into the emergency room, and and she's fine, but we're going through all that kind of stuff. And there was an attending physician that was as uncommunicative as anybody could be. You all have been there for different things. We had a 4th-year medical student from WSU that happened to be there. She had no idea who I was, who my mom was, or whatever. Came in every few minutes, talked back and forth, hey, here's what's happening, here's what's going on, and this kind of stuff. And I was super proud of the fact that I said, if this is what our graduates are doing, nobody cares whether they went to WSU, UW, or whatever. They want great health care in the state. I felt this is the difference that we were hoping to make in the state. So thank you for that, and we're going to continue to work to try to do some things a little bit differently. And let me put it this way. If every graduate of the University of Washington College of Medicine and every graduate from Washington State University College of Medicine stay in the state, we're still going to be short of physicians. I mean, put it that way, we got to have both of us working together. And I will say a lot of that animosity that kind of came out when all that was, that's kind of dead and buried. As a matter of fact, the 2 medical schools work together on several research initiatives and things like that. So, It's an interesting history, but hopefully that's behind us. Thank you. Yes.
As a fellow engineer, thanks for being with us here today. I also am a Husky, but my wife's a Cougar, so we have a mixed marriage. Quick question with respect to the transition associated with sports. I noticed you didn't really touch on that. I was shocked to see the breakup of the Pac-12. We had a speaker from the UW talk to us a bit about the impact of how college athletes now have access to a tremendous amount of financial incentive. Can you give us a couple thoughts on that, please?
Just a couple. I would, it's, I think right after the breakup, where the conference went, there's a lot of animosity. There still can be some of that out there. But, at the end of the day, right, as a leader, you can bemoan that, or you can say, okay, I don't like where we are, but let's work to make that better. And so my focus here after that has occurred is, what does the new Pac-12 look like? What's important to us as an institution? And when we talk to our student athletes and some of those kind of things, this may seem a meandering answer, but hopefully I get there. They said, hey, we want to compete at the highest level we can. They thought that was really important. They want to compete for conference championships and stuff like that. Interestingly, the second thing that came up was travel. Our student athletes and coaches were really concerned about, just forget that about the academics part, flying to the East Coast and expecting to perform at an elite level against somebody who slept in their bed at home, turning around, coming back, doing 2 days of class, getting back on a plane, doing that again. They wanted their families and people to be able to come and watch them compete on a regular basis. So to me, I wanted, if we can't have the old Pac-12, then let's make sure the new one's got a footprint where people can move. We don't have 4 time zones to go through and some of those types of things. So I think University of Washington's got its pathway as a Big Ten institution. We're going to be in a rebuilt Pac-12, and I think both institutions will do well. The financial piece of where intercollegiate athletics is, and I apologize for my language here, but is a shit show. I mean, it is, the national championship game, and I'm a football fan, that's $40 million spent on NIL for those 2 teams. Just put that into perspective. Think of what UW or WSU could do with a $40 million cash contribution that goes into either school. And this is not an academics versus athletics thing. It's just the money is not just a little. It is amazingly excessive. And I worry about where that is in 4 or 5 years. One of the issues with professional sports, right, is there's a reason the Yankees win a lot. If Ohio State wins the next 3 football championships, or they alternate with LSU, or pick your favorite thing, is the rest of the country going to feel real great about seeing the same schools competing every year for that? So with a Republican president, Senate, and House, we actually believe there's a chance of getting some legislation federally that would put some guardrails up on some parts of this, because I think the unfettered go buy your team kind of approach is not going to be great for any of us. So anyway. Yes, sir.
Thank you again for being here. Politically, you introduced, I'm thinking locally. Now you're in the Tri-Cities, and there's the whole wind generation mills and a lot of controversy on that. Could you have any input from what you've seen with that?
Well, my wife works in this field, so as long as nobody promises, including Paul, not to tell her what I answer, we'll be okay here. But in all seriousness, the power consumption needs for AI and things like that are stunning. And so one of the challenges that we're going to have is people sometimes want to say, we want these 3, but we don't want these 2. But we want our lights to come on. I want all the AI tools. I want all of those kind of things. And so what the reality is from an engineering point of view, and I'll leave the politics out of it for just a second, is we need ands there. We're going to have stuff with natural gas, wind, solar, hydro, all of that is going to have to be part of what we need to do in the state of Washington to meet the projected energy needs coming forward. Now, that being said, it's going to require bipartisan efforts to do this, and it can't be we're just going to be wind and solar, can't be we're going to screw all that and we're going to go just for petroleum. It's going to have to be a mixture of the two, and it's going to take some bold political leaders that are going to be willing to straddle that fence. It doesn't mean that we don't look towards an energy future that may be more green. It's just that I think to do what everybody wants to do, it's fine. If you look back at California, it was interesting. They, a couple decades ago, had a lot of rolling, blackouts. And they were very concerned about where their power was coming from until the rolling blackouts. And all of a sudden, when you went to your house and you flipped the switch and the lights didn't come on, people are like, I don't give a crap where it came from. I want my lights on. So that's the political realities is we can have all this. We need wind, we need solar, we need this, we need that. If you all go into your house and you can't turn on something or you can't get the information you want because of power requirements, it's going to frustrate people. So we got to look ahead. We got to have a plan. We got to have both sides of the aisle that contribute to that and support it. I love living in the United States, love living in Washington, but we can't look at everything as a 1 or 2 year kind of thing. We got to be willing to look at 10 years and say, how are we going to get there and what we're going to do. So.
Well, thank you very much. I've got the last question.
Of course you do, yeah.
And the last question is that you're really close to Moscow, Idaho, and the University of Idaho. What type of coordination do you have between the two schools, since they're both research institutions, big institutions for each state?
Yeah, we're absolutely unique in the United States to have 2 land-grant institutions 8 miles apart. There's nowhere else that's like that. So there's a lot of our faculty that do joint research back and forth between the two. And so that's the areas that the research and scholarly work tends to be more where we coordinate back and forth. As we were chatting, the political environment over that 8-mile period is drastically different. Scott Green's the president of the University of Idaho. He's done an amazing job there. But the political environment he has to deal with in Boise and what I have to deal with in Olympia look like 2 completely different jobs. And so there's certain things that we can work on really well together, and others, because of the states we reside in, even though we're 8 miles apart, that have to be different. You would think you could take classes interchangeably back and forth. That's turned out to be nearly impossible to logistically figure out how to do that. So we're going to keep at it, keep working at it. But folks, thank you for the invitation today, and always go Cougs. Thank you.
I just want to give you an appreciation for your participation today. It's a donation equal to 600 healthy servings of produce, and that's been made on your behalf to Harvest Against Hunger from our Rotary Service Foundation.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you.
And there is a little bit of coordination that I know of between the University of Idaho and, because I teach in the UW's NROTC, and okay. You do have the Navy ROTC people that do go take classes on both sides. Yes, and that's the one thing that I knew about between the two schools. Thank you so much for coming. Now I get to do my sort of introduction, but before I do my introduction, I'm going to call upon our music people to because we get to do a little bit of singing here. And so, Don, do you want to say a few words? And
I'd love to say a few words. I thought of singing, we could all sing Fight, Fight, Fight by Washington State, but it goes so fast that you couldn't keep up. Anyway, and then with all the political things going on, and with Peter Yarrow passing away this past week, we thought, well, maybe, to everything, a season, or turn, or If I Had a Hammer, and all those really good songs. So anyway, we decided maybe not this week. So we're just doing America. So let's sing America the Beautiful together, because it is a beautiful country. And you stand? Oh, beautiful for spacious skies or ways of green, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed grace on thee, and crown thy hood with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriocy, that dream beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam on human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brother from sea to shining sea. Thank you. Actually, we did have Mark Wright. He could have sung Fight, Fight, Fight for us.
All right, everybody, please take your seats. And thank you, President Kirk. We appreciate you coming. And I want to thank Dawn Murphy and Bert Stewart for the music, thanking Juan Liendo and Charmaine Vasquez for greeting, and of course Paul Casey for our meeting reporting. And we've already welcomed our guests. I don't know how many we've got, but it says up there we have a few. So, welcome. And now I get to say my introduction before we move forward with a little bit more of our program. I want to talk a little bit about our TRF, the Rotary Foundation, and our Seattle Rotary Service Foundation. We're falling down a little bit on our donations, and this is for people online as well as for people here around the room. We need to make our contributions. Vicki and her crew are expecting, in order to provide the dollars that our committees want to give out, we need to collect dollars. And let's be very, well, let's follow through on what the requirements of being a Rotarian here in Seattle are. And one of those requirements when we started was that we were going to contribute annually to both organizations, our Service Foundation as well as to TRF, the Rotary Foundation. So let's follow through. That's part of what it is to be a Rotarian. So that's my comment for today. Now, beyond that, we also have on February 12th a great event that is coming up, and this has been put together through Stephen's group, Stephen Morris, and I know that Nicole has something to do with that also, at our new aquarium down on the waterfront. I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is a really special event that will involve a panel and a tour. Bob Davidson and John Schulz, along with Mark Wright, are going to have the panel. There is a cost to this, and we need you to RSVP by February 7th. The cost is $25. Now, you're going to get to tour the new aquarium. If you decided to just go and visit the new aquarium, you'd have to pay $32. Not only are you going to get food, and there will be drinks, but you have to pay for the alcoholic beverages, but you're going to be able to get a real bargain and a fantastic program. So let's all get out and come, because it's really, thank you, Jeff, you know, we'll take all the applause we can get for that, but please, we want to have a great turnout for this, and it should be really exciting and fun for everyone to be there. And I also have a little bit more to say, because on January 30th, and I could bring Vicki up, but I think she said she wanted me to say a few words. We have the top 3 finalists for our $75,000 large local grant, and this will be done at the Rainier Club on January 30th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And, you know, there's no cost to this either. And, you know, there's food, there's drinks, and a good opportunity to learn about 3 of the finalists. Now, 3 of the finalists are as follows, and you can check online. I went online to check out these finalists, although one of them I know really well, and I'll mention that in a minute. But the 3 finalists are Operation Night Watch, Uplift Northwest, which used to be the Millionaires Club, and we have Gina here, who is the CEO of that, as our board president of Rotary, and Purpose, Dignity, Action, We Deliver Care as the 3rd. And these are really great organizations, all of them, and it'll be really hard for us to make a decision one way or another, but I hope that you're all there in order to vote on which one we want to fund the $75,000 that we have, and we'll get great publicity from this, I know. Now, one of the other things is that if you're online and unable to make this, you still are able to vote. But I want a promise, just like the promise we've made to donate to Rotary, that if you vote online and don't show up, you view the video before you vote, because you really need to know the presentations, know about the presentations. That's good fairness in the way we operate. So I really hope that we have a great turnout. You can RSVP on our website for that event. And given that, I think I better depart from this and thank our sponsors, REB Enterprises, Carl Benke, and Bloodworks Northwest for their sponsorship. And now I get to turn this over to Jaime, and you can repeat some of the things that I just talked about, but I wanted to make that special emphasis for a couple of the programs that we have.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Thank you, President John. Slide 17, please. So basically, the next couple weeks are going to be action-packed, and I just wanted to share with you some of them. So Thursday, January 23rd, tomorrow, we have our ethnic dinner with Fedva. She's an amazing host, always gives you great stories. I've done it once and enjoyed the experience tremendously. If no one here has done it, I recommend you to sign up, and it's happening tomorrow. It'll be at Dexter Avenue. Location is Tenor, and if you're interested, please contact and reach out to Fedva. Then next week on Wednesday, we have a Zoom-only lunch meeting with Dr. Telia. Dr. Telia is a board-certified in international medicine, cardiovascular disease, interventional cardiology, nuclear cardiology, everything with the heart you can ever imagine. He has published numerous scholar articles in peer-reviewed medical journals and received several honors and awards, and served as a chief cardiology fellow. And then the very next day, we have our in-person that President John explained. It'd be really great to have a huge presence, which is going to be our large local impact grand finals presentations, which will be done at the Rainier Club. Today is the hard deadline to register for the event. So if you're watching online, you're here today, and you have not signed up, please do so. We would appreciate you being there. And it helps out with the contestants themselves. Maybe you have an important question you don't know, it can bring some perspective that can make their business or idea even better. Doesn't have to be our money. The next one will be on Monday, February 3rd, the Seattle Boat Show visit with Seattle Rotary Mariners. Nicole will be up shortly, provide some great details. Thank you, Nicole. And then the following 2 days later, we'll have February 5th. Will be our luncheon meeting here. We'll be back again with a panel on aging. This is interesting. We're going to have 40 minutes of the panel featuring club members like Lisa Mayfield, Dorothy Bullitt, Bill Center with Bill's wife, Carla Center, and club director Mary Goldie rounding out the participants. We're going to hear about the struggles and successes related to aging and caregiving for loved ones. And the next one will be on February 12th, which President John just really emphasized for us to check out. Sounds like a great deal. It's costing less than to actually go to attend, which will be our evening event at the Seattle Aquarium Museum. Thank you to all who tried to make this as accommodating and a rich experience as possible. Once again, the cost is $25, great deal. An evening will feature a panel of State of the Downtown Waterfront moderated by our own Mark Wright, thank you, Mark, and featuring club member panelists John Schulz, who's president of Downtown Seattle Association, and Bob Davidson of Seattle Aquarium. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. I just thought I would come up and ask Nicole to come forward because she has sort of a short program.
Very short.
Not too short.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
Yes, so they had this slide up for February 3rd, and if you have not gone to the boat show, and you're a female, it's free, but you do have to click on buying the ticket. So I think you can't do it when you just walk up. So if you go see our newsletter that Mary sends out, she linked it in there, but we'd love to have men too. So we're trying to make the Mariners Fellowship group. Oh, see, that was good. I thought you'd like. That it would be a little lower barrier. You don't have to have a boat, like I do not have a boat. You just have to want to get together with other people, do something fun on the water, and if you have ideas, this is just a group of doing fun things in our beautiful city and area. So this year we're also lowering the bar in that it's $10 once you decide this is something you want to do to join our international group. So anyway, we're trying to follow the lead with everything kind of rethinking. But that goes to my next role, which is with Susie, and we're with engagement and retention and making sure everyone feels connected in our club. So everyone has these blue sheets on your table, and today, I know that everything got kind of flip-flopped around, but we're going to meet each other at your table, and so President John had a great idea. You want to share that?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go back to what my dad used to do at every Rotary. Those of you that are old enough, you'll probably remember. He made sure that everybody around each table introduced themselves to everybody else, which isn't a bad idea. You may already know everybody around your table, but it doesn't hurt to do that. But I want to add one thing to that before we get to the rest of the table talk, and that is, tell everybody at the table one thing that they don't know about you. What is something deep in your background that they don't know about you? So do that, think about that, introduce yourself around the table, and then follow what Nicole has given instructions about, which are the questions on the little sheet that you have.
Okay. So we're going to have 10 minutes, I believe, and then so we're not done with the meeting, just so you know. He will still come up and ring the bell when we're done. But we have to get around the table, so be brief, succinct, and memorable in your answers. And you don't have to answer both. Just pick one that speaks to you, but start with who you are and something unique that no one knows about you. Okay, go.
Well, how did everybody like their table talk? All right, before we depart from today, because it's almost the end, I get a few last words. You know, what happened on January 22nd? Well, I'm going to go back to 1855. In 1855, on January 22nd, the Point Elliott Treaty was signed in Mukilteo by Chief Seattle and 81 other Native leaders, along with Territorial Governor Isaac Stevens. That's an interesting fact, guys. And then a little bit later, in 1905, it's Bloody Sunday at St. Petersburg, which was the start of the 1905 Russian Revolution. In 1970, the Boeing 747, the first jumbo jet, entered commercial service for Pan American Airways with its maiden voyage from JFK Airport to London Heathrow. And in 1973, in a landmark decision, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized most abortions. That was Roe v. Wade. And authoring that majority opinion was Harry Blackmun. Okay, that tells you about what happened. This was the birthday in 1788 of Lord Byron. In 1909, that's when U Thant was, who was our third United Nations Secretary General, he was born. And Caitlin Clark's birthday is today, 2002. And in 1901, on this date, Queen Victoria passed away. This is the Day of Unity in the Ukraine, and it's Grandfather's Day in Poland. And with that, we're adjourned.